Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the LOY Zone podcast. Just me and Craig back again today. No cameras on today because Craig's having trouble with his. So we're just gonna run through all the European games that are coming up, and one of Shamrock Rovers today against Slovan. Going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about the three games in the league this weekend. So we may as well start off with the game against Slovan for you. Uh, Thoughts on that game, Craig?
I thought we played alright. I thought we played much better than we had the past few weeks. The Dundalk game last Friday really showed how good this Rovers can be.
Yeah,
Although I didn't do our best that day, but I think we can be better. Today it was very laxed at the start. The first 15 minutes were very laxed. If Sean Gannon scores, the game's a completely different story. He missed a sitter. Richie Towell hit a volley that tests the keeper. That goes in. Who knows? But listen, it does show that Slovan side is that small step above the league. Like
yeah,
they had Vladimir Weiss, who came on the last 20 minutes or so. He was at that time with Hungary in the Euros. That other lad, that best star player, I can't remember his name now. That star player who done his ACL last night in training, like he featured with Hungary as well in the Euros. You had Rateo and Hendry up front, two good players. Like Hendry caused Rovers a lot of problems, and Rateo obviously got his two goals. But
yeah,
if I'm going to be honest, both goals, like I understand if both goals were like decent goals. Both goals were mistakes by Rovers, and
yeah,
both goals
exactly.
I put Alamanis. Alamanis could have done better for them, but he did save our ass on 4 or 5 separate occasions towards the end of the game. But it was two sloppy mistakes from Rovers, which to me just shows that they are there for the taking, and we have 1,500 now back on Tuesday. I'm in for that. We have
How many
1,500.
did they? How many did they have today?
500.
All right. Their stadium's awful big as well.
Yeah, their stadium's like 30,000. The Slovakian national team used that for the national games.
All right.
Like, but they're in very strict lockdowns at the moment. But
Yeah,
like, we have 1,500 back on Tuesday. If we get an early goal, the place Tala will be off the walls. Like, it'll be. We need that like incentive. Like, if we would have got away goal, I know away goals don't count, but even if it was to come to Tala on 2-1, it would have been much better. But even that dive, I think I'm saying to dive Vladimir Weiss in the last minute. I know people disagree with me, but everybody had to go at Rovers during the week because of Liam Scales in a 50-50 with uh, Michael Duffy. But I genuinely, this was not a penalty. Like, there was a debate about that penalty in the Dundalk game, but this wasn't a penalty. Like,
yeah,
the lad, Weiss ran the pitch and then dived as soon as he got into the box. You said to me after the game that was experience, and it does show his experience, but every Rovers fan thought he was going to be booked for simulation, but obviously he wasn't. Penalty was given. Alaman saves our arse in the last minute. I'd
yeah.
much rather a 2-0 coming back to Tale because it's at least retrievable. Whether if it would have been 3-0 coming back to Tale, it was game over.
Oh yeah. Much rather, much rather the 2-0. I thought I missed a good bit of the game. I seen from I turned it on from the 25th minute. I didn't know I could get the stream online from a different platform. I actually thought that he played very well. He just couldn't finish when he got your chances. You just couldn't put the ball in the net, which is a really puts you in a bad position now going back to Tala. But yeah, as you said, Manis made the two mistakes for the goals, but then he saved you when Weiss went 1-on-1 with him. But Weiss should have done better there, and then Weiss's penalty. But yeah, that Ratu fella, never heard of him in my life, but stuck two past you today, and they're decent
He's
goals.
probably,
Huh?
he's supposedly going over the weekend. Like, there was talk of him leaving before the game. There's a lot of that Slovan side that if they don't leave before the Rovers second leg, they'll leave just after because they're going to have a massive clear out because their owners are very dodgy.
Well, I mean, if they're gone before that, you have a chance of coming back and going through. But yeah, is it next Wednesday the game is?
Next Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Well, we may as well just throw in our our predictions for the game, because next podcast won't be out till next Wednesday. So going back to Tala, are you confident? And what do you think the score will be?
I think the score will be, if my head says possibly 2-1 Rovers, given the fact that we have 1,500 back.
Yeah.
Me heart says that. My head says probably 1-0, maybe 2-2. What's it, Bratislava? 1-0. Now 1-0 Rovers, 2-0 Bratislava. If it goes to the way Bratislava are playing today.
Fair enough. I went 2-1 Slovan, but if what you're saying is true about the players leaving, could see an upset from Shams and come back and maybe Nick could bring it to extra time and maybe win after penalties. It's hard to tell if these players will leave or not, but at the moment, I'm going to stick with a 2-1 Slovan win. So we move on now to your rivals, Bohemians, playing Stjarnan. Is that how you pronounce it?
Stjarnan, yeah.
Yeah.
Our old pals.
Yeah. Well, playing them away in the first leg. Stjarnan are currently joint sixth in the Icelandic league, but 7th through goal difference, and they've from their last 5 games they've only taken away 7 points, which isn't too bad if you're looking at it from certain perspectives. How do you see this game going?
I have a bit of knowledge on what's actually going on over in Iceland at the moment. This bow side to a few mates. Bows are only allowed out at 30 minutes at a time for a walk. They're not even allowed to train. It's very, very strict over there for the regimes and all that, for like how football clubs are doing. Even the Shannon team were able to train tonight, but that's the first time like they've trained for this European game since, I think that last training session was last Monday.
Jesus.
So like they're very strict over there on these lockdowns. Like balls are only allowed out for 30 minutes. They're not even allowed to play football. It's just to go out on a walk to like get their energy up. So like I know this is gonna sound weird because I do expect balls to thump them. I'm not into that LOI family show. I don't want balls to win, but I do expect balls to thump them when it comes to the Aviva. But I genuinely can see Shannon beating these 1-0 or 2-0 like over there because of the regimes and all that.
That's interesting what you're saying there, with them only being allowed out for like half an hour, because over where Sligo are at the moment, they were training today and everything seemed all right. But I'll talk about that a bit more when we're on about that game. But yeah, as you said, you'd think Stjarnan would beat them over there, and both might pull it when they come back to the Aviva. But looking at Stjarnan's results over the season so far, compared to Bows, Bows have been a little bit too inconsistent, but I do see them really upping their game here in Europe, and I do see them coming back to the Aviva with a 2-0 win and in a good position. Don't know how you see that.
I could see it happening, but I just think with this regime in, and given the fact that there's 1 or 2 lads out, and this Shannon side, although they're aging, they are very, very very much a strong side. They're like the Icelandic sides. If you ask people from there of an older persuasion, the Icelandic sides, the 80s, they're full with Icelandic internationals, other internationals for other different sides. But I do expect Bows to beat them in Dublin. I don't expect Bows to beat them, because if I wouldn't have been told about that stuff about Bows not being able to train, only going out on walks, I would have said Bows would have bet them. But given the fact that they're not allowed to train, I can't see them being like, obviously they're up to match fitness from playing the league, but like training is vital when it comes to them international games. And you need to like train before the games. Like, I even look at Rovers. If Rovers weren't allowed in Slovakia last night, I'd say we would have lost heavier. But given the fact that we acclimatised to the heat, even though it didn't look towards the end, we did acclimatise to the heat for the first 70 minutes or so, because we were after being out, like they were after being over there. Whereas Bows are literally over there 30 minutes they're allowed out to walk. It's like a hotel lockdown.
Bows only flew over today, didn't
they? Yeah, Bows flew over today. They're only allowed 30 minutes. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night. So an hour in total.
it's. I mean, that's a bit like. Well, I mean, looking at it, both have been, as you said, the match fitness from playing in the league, but they didn't leave that early today, so they could have got. I mean, an hour or two in before they left this morning, but I don't know. Just have to wait and see what the outcome is tomorrow night. So yeah, what was your score prediction, Craig?
I said 2-0 Stjarnan, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was 1 either.
Yeah, I went with 2-0 Bulls, but yeah, as you said, wouldn't surprise you. We'll move on now to the only game that is actually getting played in Ireland this weekend. That's not in the league, and that's Dundalk versus Newtown. Newtown so it's like the Welsh league is kind of like the way they do it in Scotland as well. They have to split it into two after the end of the season, and it's like a conference league in the top six then. But
Yeah.
Newtown, they finished ninth in the league, and then they won the Conference League playoff, and that's how they got into Europe, I think. I'm not sure.
Yes, that's shambles, isn't it?
That is
They're going out
how can you finish ninth, win a relegation thing, and get into Europe?
That's a bit like a few years back in the League of Ireland, you used to get like 4 points for a home win, 3 points for an away win.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit pointless. Like it's
that's like it's kind of like let's just say Finn Harps finished ninth this season, and they win the relegation playoff and they get a Conference League spot.
Yeah, it's like you put let's say top 5, bottom 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Top 5, the winner of the top 5, yeah. Even though like Rovers could be, I'm just giving an example. Rovers could be like 20 points clear second, like absolutely storming, and then the team in fifth beat Rovers on a one-off game, and that team then gets the Champions League spot. Like, it's a bit pointless, like.
Yeah, it's really strange. But then, well, they got the Conference League spot anyways, Newtown, and they're playing Dundalk, which I'm surprised is actually going ahead. As you were saying there to me earlier, that both teams are riddled with COVID, which is, I think the game shouldn't be played at all. Should be rescheduled or something. But I know it'd probably be hard to reschedule games around this late with the game only kicking off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I just think it's a shit show on both ends because Dundalk have 5 or 6 cases. I think this Newtown side have 4 or 5 in that squad. Both squads were trying with each other before these COVID tests were obviously given. So like that's it, to me. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It's genuine. I wouldn't be surprised there's another outbreak because of this game. And obviously fans, I think 200 fans are allowed back in, but if there's any Dundalk fans listening to this before this game, please wear a mask, because if any player comes towards that touchline for any amount of time, if they are riddled with it, you are going to catch it.
Yeah.
And even if, like, and I don't mean this to sound like, like the grumpy fucking owl lad saying, just wear a mask and all that, but genuinely though, this game is going to be riddled with it. It's going to be a disaster, and there probably will be an outbreak from it. So please just take that into account before you enter the stadium tomorrow.
It's really, and also they're riddled with COVID, and you've seen it with Waterford early on in the season. I'm talking about this our game as well in Iceland. We've 2 cases in our squad and we're still out play. It's interesting, really, how some teams are riddled with it and they're allowed playing, and another team is riddled with it and they're not allowed play. But yeah, going off the game, I don't know much about this Newtown team, but I don't know, both teams riddled with COVID. It's hard to see which way it's going to go, so I just went neutral. I went with a 1-1 draw.
Like, if we would, like, I know that the 2 Sligo players are known to the public now, but like, if we know who the Dundalk side have out, it would give us a better example of who will take that place. Like, let's say, I don't know who the names are, but let's say even if it was like a BB, a Cherry, then you had to bring up a lad from the 19s to be a sub keeper or your actual keeper. Like, or if it's your centre backs like Sonny and Andy Boyle, they're only 2 fit centre backs, then you had to bring lads up from the other edge. But we don't know who it is, so we won't know until the game's played who are the cases. Like, so for me, I'm just gonna go down neutral as well, either 0-0 or 1-0.
Fair enough. Yeah. Now we move on to my club, Sligo Rovers. travelled over to Iceland yesterday, and they're playing tomorrow against. I'm just gonna call them FH because I don't know how to pronounce their name. I'll give it a go.
Fiona.
Yeah, well, yeah, there we go. What Craig said. Yeah, they're currently 8th in the league, behind Stjarnan, 5 points in the last 5 games. Their performance hasn't been great at all this season, and I was told that their manager has been recently sacked or something. I'm not too sure, and they have a good few players out with injuries, I think. So I don't know. I'll let you start off here on what you think about it.
We heard they got Mark Bircham in. But now genuinely, given the fact we know he was out for Sligo now, possibly, even though McNicholas was good in goal the other night for us, like still he's now McGinty, if you get me, and especially in this.
McGinty could still be back though. We don't know. Like, we don't know how serious the injury was.
I don't know how true this is, but someone told me he was a close contact.
No, it was John Mahon and Kenny, because McGinty played the game against Longford.
I know that them two lads were the confirmed cases, but someone told me he was a close contact of Martin. But no, that's obviously.
I don't know.
But if he plays, I'd expect Sligo to win. If not, that's that doubt in my mind, that because McGinty, as much as I always slagging the group deals, he is one of the best keepers in the league.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best young keepers in the league. Probably second best. I'd always say Adamusa over him, purely because I've seen Adamusa in the flesh. Whereas I haven't seen McGinty yet like that. But if he starts, I'd expect Sligo to win 1 or 2-0. If not, I expect Sligo to still win, but probably 1-0, maybe 2-1.
Yeah. Well, looking at our team at the moment, we have some injuries. If McGinty's back, we don't know. You're saying he's a close contact. He went off with an injury against Longford. But even McNicholas against Longford, he actually had a very decent game. I've seen him in a few people's team of the weeks as well. I thought he performed well. Seen him coming on the pitch, and I was I was in doubt of what he could do, because he got lobbed there against Derry in pre-season when he was playing with Finn Harps on loan, and he made a few mistakes in pre-season for Finn Harps. But if McNicholas is on his game like he was against Longford, I won't have too much to worry about. But then we're missing McCourt as well, with a fractured wrist. And then obviously we've Mahon missing. But to be fair to him, I gave Blaney a bit of abuse on this podcast a few times. But the last few games, he's actually really been actually very good. Against Bows, he was solid, and against Longford, he was solid. So maybe beside Buckley, it might change things. Buckley's back as well. He's back for Longford, which makes me feel better about how we're playing. Kenny is missing, so hopefully Parks is on his game to get a few goals for us. So I'm not too worried about this game, looking at how FH are in their league and their performance over the season. So yeah, and also about that Bow situation. I seen that we were out training today for I don't know, I think it was an hour or two. So I don't know. It must be different restrictions all over the country or something. I'm not sure.
It was a bit like when we put, like, what was it, Carlow, Laois and Kildare into lockdown instead of putting that outside. It's a bit like that, yeah.
Maybe it's hard to tell. We don't live in Iceland, so we don't know. So
yeah, true.
But looking at this game tomorrow, they don't look the best of sides. Obviously, we're on form. It's currently joint top of the table with G, but second on goal difference. So yeah, I'm actually kind of confident going into this game. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a 2-0 Rovers win, and then we'll going into the game next week, which I'm happily attending, which I'm delighted about.
Yeah, what happened there? What happened? Is it because Sligo's on? I know
I'm not sure what's happened.
Is it because Sligo's much higher up in cases that they were that they're keeping it at 400
instead of? I haven't a clue, to be honest. People are saying it's about the capacity, but Richmond have less than us, and they're still letting 1,000 in.
Yeah, I was saying, someone said to me, Rouse are only allowed, 15% of our capacity, and then they were looking at Sligo and Richmond, that's nearly 30% of theirs, so what's the difference there? But For me, I'd rather see fans getting back in as much as I do find it a bit weird that Rovers, after doing three pilot games, perfect, nobody has caught the words, thank God. But we are for an improvement on that. It was up to 1,500, and then I think next Saturday we have Longford or someone
Yeah.
like that, and it's back down to 500. Like I don't get
It's
the
back
logic.
down to 500.
Yeah, back down to 500 then. Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a bit weird how they're doing. Our government are kind of a bit tapped. But yeah, 400 allowed into that game next week. I'm one of them, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, so we move on now to the League of Ireland games this weekend. Start off with Harps at home to Waterford. How do you see this game going?
Harps are home to Waterford. Harps inconsistent. At the start of the season, I was laughing. The Lloyd Harps are so far.
Yeah.
Then fell off cliff like Harps usually do. Like they went from last year, like that was obviously the joke around the league. We're in the Harps when it went to November, were like prime Barcelona
Yeah.
and 19 Brazil. But then they continued on that form going to the start of the season. Then obviously they've had about 7 or 8 players after leaving the squad now. Tony McNamee left after the game on
Folan retired. Which
Fowler retired.
you feel
Lads
sorry
went,
for.
yeah, lads
He's
went
only he's
from
only young.
Scott.
He's like 29.
He's
Folan, isn't
29, yeah,
he? Yeah.
29.
It just shows the sadness of the game with injuries and players having to retire so young.
Like the best example of that I'd give is Keith Fatty. Keith Fatty is one of the best players I've ever seen play in the league, and because of injuries had made him retire so early. Like he could have been still playing now, but because of his injuries he had to retire. Like it does shows that even though like we all say, oh, we can't stand some people, especially in the league, for say we can't stand the Premier League because it's a bunch of ballerinas, but like it does shows that even though you don't see it as much over in England, like lads getting injured and then that's that career done. That's them done at before 30. Whereas like in the league, it's a regular thing. It's a regular thing for lads to get bad injuries. Like I know people slag him and all, but Shawnee Boyd's had 4 horrible injuries. Christian Magaruson, that was with Bowers for the past few years. He done his ACL on both legs twice. He done Shawnee done his ACL, broke his leg and all that, his knee twisted backwards when he was playing for the PFUI team. It does shows that as much as we love the league for its hardness and screeniness and the tackles and all that, it does have an everlasting effect on like the players.
But then there's some players that have recovered from injuries. John Mahon, example, and they've come back looking the exact same player. So it's hard. It's hard to see with injuries these days. Someone could get an ACL. 2 players could get an ACL injury each. One comes back absolutely fucked, basically. He's not the player he was, and then another player could come back better than he was.
Yeah, it's a lot like you look at like lads who've done it and then they come back and they're like, I used to think he was quality and then now he's come back and he's not to the standard that I had him at. And then you have other lads. Even I was mad. I really wanted to see John Matton. If I'm going to be honest, in 2018 when Matton first broke onto the scene, I'm nearly sure it was 2018. He first played for Sligo. I had him earmarked as a potential sign for over 2019. He was class. Then 2020 he done his ACL and I was just like, will he come back and do better than that, or will he be one of them players that do you ever get them lads that sit down in your local and just be like, oh yeah, I play for the local team because I could have made it at such and such club?
Yeah.
I hoped it wasn't like that, and thankfully he proved me right. So I'm delighted he's back now. Given the fact that Harps after losing, I think it's 7 or 8 players now. Like a good few of the players that are from Scotland and all that went back to Scotland because of like all this. I don't know what was the story. I think there's something happening behind the scenes at Harps that we all don't know about. Because I don't think 7 or 8 players usually leave a Harps side halfway through the season, if I'm being honest. Now, I know they brought in Jared Doherty and all that, and that's a good signing, but like, as much as Jared Doherty has experience, he's not an outfield player, and that's what they need.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with the Waterford squad. Waterford have been majorly inconsistent this year. Like, they'll go from a few games playing good, and then they'll fall off a cliff. So, for me, as much as I've said a lot about Watford this season, especially to the lads, but for me, I still think Watford win this game, given the fact that Hearts have lost a lot of players over this last few weeks, and especially that there's doubt over what's going to happen at Hearts. There's doubt over whether more lads are going to leave, whether they're going to bring in lads that will suit like the Harps way of playing. Because let's be honest, Harps way of playing is sometimes playing good football and other times route one, get it as far as you can. If McGinley can hit it as far as that goal, thank God, and get Tunde on the end of it. So for me, I think Watford win this. If Watford play the way they did against us and not the way they played the past few games, maybe they win this 2-0. If not, it's a score draw for me.
I agree with everything you said there. Harps, they're not in the best positions at the moment, and they've been very inconsistent this season as well. But then Waterford look to be a better side under Mark Birchall. I said it the last few episodes. So yeah, it won't be easy up in Hearts. It's never easy, no matter what team they have out. But I do see Waterford coming away with 3 points, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. So then we move down to Dublin, the capital, and it's in Richmond Park. Pats host Derry City. Pats, one of the teams that are up near, they're third, aren't they? Third in the league.
They fell off cliff the past few weeks.
Yeah, third, and the 3 teams, 2 above them and the 1 below them, all playing in Europe. So this could be a chance to get on top and really get their performances back up. So what are your thoughts on this game?
I think Pats have really showed over the past few weeks, and I've said this to a few Pats fans I know, that this shows that they really need a striker. Because as much as Ronan Coughlin, people were saying at the start of the year, he's going to be the 15 goal season striker for Pats. He's not. And let's face the facts, the only thing Ronan Coughlin's good at is taking penalties. So
he is.
Yeah. So for me, they've let lads go. They've brought back. I find it weird that I think he was Alfie Lewis. They got from West. They said that he was gone back to West Ham, and then literally about 2 hours later announced that he was back for the end of the season.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird, not gonna lie. Derry, even though Patchen's gone, they've brought in Junior. There's talk of McElhenney coming back. That's like that talk of McElhenney is true. He'll either be back at the end of the year, or if they can agree a fee now, he's going to be gone beforehand. I think Dundalk are looking into something that they can cancel McElhenney's contract just to let him go play for his hometown club.
Yeah.
McGonigal be signed from Crusaders. The reported fee for that was 30 grand. So like 30 grand, yeah, 30 grand is what he paid for McGonigal. I think if the Derry side that has played since Rory Higgins came in, and we know they say this new manager stuff and all that, Rory Higgins, when he went there, I didn't think he would have done better than Decky, and he actually has proven that he can bring, because he was inexperienced. I said the same about Stephen O'Donnell when he went to Pats first. They're about inexperienced managers. Like, I didn't expect him to do well, but looking at him now, he has this Derry side playing well. He didn't need anybody like Joe Hodge. Look, I know Joe Hodge was supposed to play for them. He done his something in his back and couldn't play for them once. But you look at the players who they're after bringing in, like I know Patchen and Lopano are gone back to their parent clubs. I know they brought in Junior, they brought in McGonigal, they brought in a few other lads, proper Derry lads, brought them home, especially Daniel Lafferty off us at the start of the year. So even though it's in Dublin, I do think that given the way Pats played over the past few games against Waterford and against Bows, that down to 9 men, they have that arguably 2 of their best players this year suspended. So I could see Derry, Ian Birmingham and Lee Desmond.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see Derry win this maybe 2-0. 1-0, 2-0.
Yeah, fair enough. As you're saying there with the signings, McGonigal, Junior, obviously, if they get McElhenney, he won't be back. He won't be there for this game. But yeah, talk about performances as well. Derry, they've really upped their game when Rory came in, and they look totally different side under him. He's really come into that squad and brought a bit more light into it. But then if you're looking at Pats, as you're saying, there are 2 players suspended, and to be honest, they do need a second striker. I believe that Coughlin plays better when he has another striker up beside him, and I've seen that when he was with us, Romeo Parks. Looking at last season as well, he wasn't that great for us when he was up on his own. But yeah, I think Pats need a win here, but I don't see them getting it. Obviously, Derry, they've lost Patchin, but they've brought in Junior, which I was surprised that they signed him after letting him go there. What was it, 2019?
Yeah.
2019 season, and now he's back again. Is it on loan or is it an actual signing?
No, on loan, but that's talk from because he's only on a year deal. That's talk from signing permanently then after.
Well, I mean, if they can hold on to him and he performs for them, yeah, that'd be good for them. But I don't think he's the same player that was with them in 2019. He wasn't great for us, and he wasn't that great for Dundalk either. But yeah, Pats in Richmond Park. I do see a draw here, and I'm going to go 1-1, and maybe Junior to get his first goal back in red and white of Derry.
Might be Parkhouse last game, isn't that what they're talking about?
Yeah, possibly. And Ballymena United that are linked with him, which is really strange. Do you think a bigger club would be going for him?
Are they like second division? Or are they still like top division?
I think they're top. I think they're the lower side of the top division, if not the top, near the top of the second division. I don't really keep up with.
Yeah,
very stupid.
Very stupid. For me, genuinely, I know like he hasn't hit the form that he was supposed to hit when he came back. Like you think of Parkhouse 2019 to Parkhouse now, it's a completely different player. But Parkhouse is on a 3-year deal at Derry, or nearly could be 3.5-year deal at Derry. So are they trying to shift the big wage given the fact he's came in from Sheffield?
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest. It'd be strange if Ballymena are buying him, which is also...
Yeah. It's a bit of a strange move for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I'd expect if it was Glens or Larne or Linfield or something going in from, I'd expect it then, but going to someone like Ballymena, it's not really like a team that jumps out at you, like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to look into Ballymena a bit more after the episode. We talk about it the next day we're on. But yeah, move on now from Pats and Derry, and it's over to Longford. We're drawing a travel. How do you see this game going?
I see draw the full strength squad against Longford. Full strength squad means draw the win 2-0 for me.
Fair enough. Looking at that game against us, I think Longford have given most teams their hardest games this season. Obviously, you said it, they gave Shams their hardest game. That game at the weekend wasn't easy for us, so we had to win it through a penalty as well. We should have scored more against them. They should have scored a few as well. There was a chance where McNicholas had to come out of his box and header it away, and then they could have eased the fella that sent it back in. He could have easily just put it into the back of the net, but he didn't get a shot right. But looking at that Longford team at the weekend, they looked a little bit better. I don't know what was with them, but they looked way better than the team that was there when we bet them 2-0 in the showgrounds earlier on. So yeah. Depends on how Drogheda perform here at the weekend and how Longford perform. It all depends on the performances from both sides. But really, if we're being realistic here, I'm just going to go with a 1-0 Drogheda win. So yeah, that's our episode now for the week. Me and Craig once again, proper duo at this time now. Starting to carry this podcast, I think, Craig. What do you think?
Yeah, Jamie needs to get his act up.
And Jonathan, not putting League of Ireland's own podcast as a main priority. It's
putting Pats above
now. Huh?
Putting Pats above it.
Yeah, it's not good enough. But yeah, all jokes aside, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the podcast. And we'll be back again next week with our review on the European games tomorrow and the league games this weekend, and we look towards the other ties in Europe next Thursday. So thanks again, Craig, for coming on and doing the episode with me tonight. And thanks for watching, lads.